Nation. Hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast. I'm afraid to say it is the B team. Ryan's not with us, so I'm having to put up with Jose today. How are you, Jose?
Yeah, thanks for putting up with me. I'm really
That's
good.
right. I'll do
Very
my
good.
best.
I'm glad you missed me last week.
I did.
Team.
It was hard having the show without you.
I loved all the name dropping.
I put them in especially for you because I know you listen back.
And
We've adopted
at
it
the
now.
end. I love that.
We've adopted it.
Sorry? I loved it. I loved it. Right. Shall I get on with this quote?
Yeah.
Because otherwise we'll lose people.
What are we chatting about?
Right. We are chatting about, in Lee's words, writer Virginia Woolf. And she said, there's no need to hurry. There's no need to sparkle. There's no need to be anyone but one's self. And it's about self-acceptance. I really like that. But yeah. And I'm going to do exactly what you said I always do each week. Lee, over to you.
You haven't even given me
and Lee's typing away
Google
frantically on his computer.
Just so I can get the thing up in front of me.
So Virginia Woolf, yeah, look her up. Was writer, and the source was a room of one's own. Quite like that.
There's a million quotes, which is unsurprising, really. No
Lee's just looking it up.
There you go. No need to be anywhere.
Yeah.
So I was doing a bit of scrolling yesterday, and you know when you hit bits of music, and you're like, oh, I'll add that to my playlist. I'll add that to my playlist. And there's, and I should know this. It's terrible. I don't know the song, but there's what I think is an older song, and it's. I need to look it up now. I need to pad for time. But I like the song, and it resonates with this quote, and we'll come back to the song because the overriding message is be yourself. You know, you've got to write your own kind of music, sing your own kind of song, etc., etc. That one, I'll look it up.
Love that.
But I really like that message of you are you, you are unique, if I can say words. Got to be yourself, do things your way, and every so often it's really easy to fall into that, or I find it, maybe everyone doesn't, but the conformity trap. Oh, am I doing that in the right way? Should I have done that different? Should I have done that the way someone else would do it? And then every so often I remind myself of, no, it's not an arrogance of you just do what you want and damn to anyone, but be prepared to have your view, put stuff out there in your way, do things the way you want to do them. And actually, if it's slightly against the grain, maybe you're on the right track, because that's where innovation happens, doesn't it? Outside of that safe space. And it's in that field. And I'll tell you, it was on the train yesterday on the way home, actually. And every so often that gives me a bit of reassurance on, no, do push on that. Do things your way. Be Lee. And I see that in this. Well, I will look up that song as I'm padding, because it would make that whole bit a lot better if I actually had the song title. Anywho, Jose, what do you think of your own quote? Because you, as you said, you spotted this and you noted it to talk about. So what did it make you think of when you saw it?
It makes you think of myself, because I always try. I think I have always tried. I'm trying to think back when I was, always go back to my childhood, and as I've grown up, I definitely have always been tried to be myself. I've been different versions, because when you're challenged, I think I know when I'm challenged, not now, but when I used to be challenged, I used to adopt a slightly different mind framework for some reason. And thanks to appreciate that. Hey, Painhammer's in the house, because I think it would depend on who I was speaking to as well. If someone held a higher position, I maybe wouldn't challenge as much when I should have challenged.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure on reflection whether that was a confidence thing or because I just was afraid of being myself. But some of the things that I came across, I knew they weren't right, but I just didn't challenge. But I know that if I'd been in a different environment, I would have said something, but I didn't. And that's an interesting thing to think about. As I grew up, as I was growing up, I think it's the acceptance thing about, because I want to challenge, you're afraid of maybe being left out of the group or a certain circle. And then that plays into, I can't challenge this because I'm afraid of ramifications. And the fear plays in. Whereas now, as I'm older, if I could have this brain now in that body, I wouldn't be so much fearful of that. I would just say it in a way that's still not rude, but more direct
Just have
and
more confidence in your view and your
carry
approach and
weight.
what you think. Yeah.
Yes, that's where I'm going with it, because I've always liked to bring examples. And I remember there was once where we had to give stats, and Lee, you know, I was talking about in our days we worked together, and I think you were in the team, and I think you were in the team, and I had to give stats, and I remember having to send them off, and they weren't the best stats for the whole department because I think everyone was off. And I remember this leader, can I call them a leader? Probably not. But they said to me, who am I going to sack now? And I did say to them, what do you mean? And I said that wasn't appropriate. And I did get there was a little bit of back and forth, but I think I could have been stronger, I think. But now I would absolutely challenge that a bit more stronger. So it's really interesting when I think back on these moments, because for me, I'm much more comfortable in being more direct with people, but being in my way, not a different version, but it's my way of being direct. If I'm not happy, let me just say it in my way. That's not rude. I wouldn't want it to come across as rude, but it'd be still direct. But I'd want to be kind, but under no certain terms, that person understands where I'm coming from. I've had to do that actually in my life, not in work, but actually in a personal, and it worked really, really well. And that person, when I can't really tell, I can't really say who it was, other than it wasn't my part of the family, but it was someone who was sort of good with the family, but they were it's very difficult, you know. But it was someone that wasn't connected, but was in a certain way. You can probably guess what I'm trying to get at. And I had to be very, very upfront about their behaviours, and I did it, and it landed really well. They weren't very happy, but it needed to be done because it wasn't acceptable. Yeah, and there you go. And I was absolutely myself, and that's when I'm older though, not now. But there you go. That's where I think that thing about being anyone self but yourself, but in different spaces. But yeah, you look. I imagine you've looked up what you need to look up, and any thoughts from you, Lee, on that one?
The song is "Make Your Own Kind of Music" by Cass Elliot. It was released in 1969. I never knew that from when I heard it. And make sure I don't have too many windows open and my computer explodes. I don't know what's going wrong with it today. But just looking for the meaning, and it is what Google's AI overview tells me, is it's about following your own path, if it's difficult or you're doing it alone.
You're breaking.
It's about, am I breaking up?
You're breaking up a little bit. Yeah, I didn't quite catch that.
Oh, I don't know what I've done there. I've got some horrible YouTube video running. I'm going to close.
You're back now.
Right. It's about being your authentic self and not being afraid to be your authentic self and doing, forging your own path. And like you've said, as I've got older, that's become less of a concern about that conformity, that fitting in. But it still gnaws away at my head every so often, both in terms of, the message. What am I talking about? What's my drive or my angle here? But also the way I come across, because we all have different ways. Well, I used one for you, Joe, which many years ago, you, in your early YouTube days, if it was where it was, you put out a video and you did a gesture, which was like this with your hands, emphasising.
I remember that. I still remember that.
That all.
It was a night out. Is this the night out?
Yeah, we all took that on, and then everyone was, doing this to you as a jokey thing, and you owned it. And rather than that being, oh no, I shouldn't do that again, you completely leaned into, because that was you, and that was you being yourself in your video, and you weren't a fade. Words are really struggling. You don't need that for a podcast, right? I don't need to be able to enunciate. But you weren't afraid to lean into that and be yourself and actually kind of use that to power you. And it's the same for me. I'm very passionate when I talk about things, and depending where it is, I have to moderate that. And sometimes I kick myself if I feel like I didn't moderate myself enough. And then sometimes I'm more like, no, I care about that. I should care about that. And it's like, like you said, it'd be great to have this when you were younger. I also feel when I was younger, I probably wasn't constructive and couldn't put myself over so much. So maybe there's a balance between, like I said, it's not just a carte blanche to run wild, but also don't don't just fit in. Don't follow the herd. If you've got views on something, go with that. Make sure you put it across in the right way, but put it across in a way
Yeah.
that is, you can be constructive and you can be whatever's needed at the time, diplomatic or various things for different situations, but you can still always do that whilst being authentic to yourself.
Yeah, I'm still be respectful, because
Yeah,
one of the lovely things,
100%. Yes.
one of the things I've learned, and I got it from the book actually, was Jefferson Fisher, and I've learned much better how to disagree, but in a way that still encourages the conversation.
That's it, yeah.
And one of the great, because you still want to have a conversation, because you might be off track a little bit, and you need to say your piece, but you've got to be open to sort of say, well, there could be a direction here. Okay, well, this is a different path, but actually you've got a point. You don't want to shut down the conversation. You want to keep the conversation going. So one of the things, one of the phrases that I really love from Jefferson Fisher, and welcome Tracy, Jamie in here for the info, I like that, was a phrase that he used when you want to disagree with someone. I really like it. When someone says, hey, X, whatever, and you don't agree with it, I used to say this word. This is what I used to do before. And I used to say, I want to challenge that. Let me challenge that. Can I challenge that? That was a sort of phrasing. Now, with Jefferson, which I really like, you should definitely get the book around the next conversation. Go get it. I don't want any commission off it. It's just really good. And I like the phrase he uses. He says, if you have to disagree with someone, just say things like, I see things differently. And I really love that. That's so powerful, because you're saying that you disagree, but this is my view, but in a way which still keeps the conversation alive.
Yeah, you're not
and
shutting them down.
Background, Lee.
Oh,
yeah, you still, like the conversation's still running,
going, yeah.
But I see things differently. It's really nice. It still brings them into the conversation, but you can still disagree. And Jefferson Fisher, did I say he still is an American attorney, but the way he shapes conversations is excellent. So go check out his YouTube channel. Thanks, Jefferson Fisher. Appreciate you. But there, yeah, that's what I'm still learning these things, just trying to shape it even better by having them, but still wanted to keep conversation alive, because before, as you're learning stuff, you might shut the conversation down. That's not what you want, because I might have a valid point, even though you disagree. And I think that's really important that we have that. So going back to the quote, being yourself and being open to that. And I think what I'm thinking here is that clearly I've had challenges with being oneself and challenging people, but now I'm much more comfortable with it, being myself, doing it, but not doing it in a,
like you said, you found the right way to put across your view.
Yeah, the buffet Lee way, you talk about the buffet learning, you grab bits, right, and then you add it to your repertoire, and then you gradually bake it in, and then you use it in your own way, in your own style, which I really think is valuable, because it becomes across authentic as well, and people resonate. Even though you might disagree, they still resonate, so you can still have a conversation about it. Doesn't mean you've got to fall out about it, just means you just see things a little bit differently, which I really love. Anyway, over to you, Lee.
No, it's good. I like that, and I like the building on this, because it's having and again, it's always you're always learning with it, but having that kind of maturity and growth to be yourself and be yourself in the right way, and bring people in on that when you're having the confrontations. I love the I've got a different view. I've heard someone else talk in the past, and they said that the golden thing they always do is what if. So someone pitches an idea and they're like, oh, that's great, yeah, that's really good, but what if? And then you build on the idea, or you tweak, or you elaborate, you change. Even if you 100% disagree with it, you're bringing them into that conversation with you rather than shutting them down. Because once you say no, where else do you go with that conversation? Once that person thinks there's no point in me inputting here, where do you go?
Yeah, because you've seen it, haven't you? You know, where people just shut down. I don't want to go too much off the quote, but then you shut down the conversation. They either shut down, or it ends up going the other way, where you are getting into a place where it's quite confrontational, and that doesn't help the conversation at all. And keeping things open, and everyone can, and you can have a space where everyone can be themselves in a respectful place. I think it's a really powerful place to be. And again, as you said, Lee, going against the grain encourages innovation, and through that, you might ask the what if question, and they go, yeah, and this is how I've thought of that, and they go, oh yeah, that's a good point. And then you're stacking the idea, and I think we've talked about it before, You have an idea and you stack on top of it, and the idea evolves because it becomes better, and that innovation piece you talk around there. And I think that's why bringing yourself into the conversation and being wholeheartedly onto it also wins hearts and minds, because if you're bought into it, again, you're more likely to execute on whatever you're deciding to do, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business meeting, whether it's a project, whatever. You're more on board with it, even though you might not quite agree, but you're all on the same page of what you want to execute, but you feel better about it and think better about it because you've been able to express your view openly and not been shut down. And you've still been able to be, all of you been able to be your authentic self and still get a good outcome from the meeting, even if you don't necessarily agree with the outcome, but you said, well, I've had a good conversation. Okay, well, I can live with that. Let's go on. But then as it evolves, you might find that your ideas come to fruition. And again, being oneself in that conversation is so important.
Absolutely.
From my point of view.
The other bit I take from this, and again, it ties into the being yourself, because actually the start of the quote wasn't it, you don't need to sparkle, something like that.
Yeah, no need to sparkle.
Just
yeah.
Relax. And this is, whether you're in a work environment, say you're in a meeting, or you're working on a project with people, or even like you're in sports team or something. And we'll use that. Rarely use a sports analogy, but footballer.
I love a sports analogy.
The person who gets man of the match isn't necessarily the person who had the ball for the most amount of time, or scored the most goals, or completed the most tackles, or completed the most passes. It's the person who added the most value in that match, and that might be being behind everyone and propping them up. And the same, project or meetings or something like that, you don't need to be the person who has every idea. You don't need to be the person who holds the conversation. You don't need to answer everything. You just need to talk at the right time, in the right way, when it's valuable for you, support people, whatever it is. But as soon as your goal in any of those environments becomes, I'm going to make sure everyone notices me, you're immediately not being your authentic self, because your goal, your driver isn't to add value from your view in your way. Your driver is to make sure you stand out above everyone, and that immediately skews everything you do in all those environments. That's where you make mistakes or you go in the wrong direction. And I think that don't need to sparkle. Being yourself is just about being relaxed, being comfortable about that, not needing to show that or prove it to anyone. Again, it's that inward reward sort of stuff. And I think that's where, from a mental well-being perspective, and from an achievement perspective, that's where you look after yourself the best way, and that's where you get the best results, is when you are just being yourself, not trying to be something else, which is often what you do when you kind of do that sparkling bit, which is ironically is where you then do sparkle when you're not trying.
Oh, I love that. You're sparkling when you're not trying. That's a lovely quote. This reminded me of something that as well, when I first started training, Lee, you just reminded me, when I first started training and delivering people, you put in a ton of energy. Not that I don't, but it's different type of energy where you're trying to almost put on a bit of a show to sort of get engagement. And it still is tiring. Because as a trainer or a coach and you're trying to deliver messages, you do want them to land. But as I've done this more, it's not about that. It's just more about being yourself. And it's interesting because I ran a presentation skills workshop. I've been running it. Well, we've done it for years, but we've got a new version. And when I see people delivering, you can tell the people that really land the message because they're landing it by being themselves. They're not being, because we work in the corporate world. When you see someone really stiff and corporate, it's not as effective when someone actually is landing the message as themselves. And it's really powerful because every time we've had like 6 people in the room they're delivering, there's a different version of themselves that turns up. Different versions of people that turn up. Sorry, not themselves, but different. Everyone who delivers is different, but they do it in their own way. And that lands a lot better. The story lands a lot better. Everything lands a lot better because you just connect to the authenticity of the person. As soon as someone tries to be someone they're not, the audience just knows there's a BS meter and they won't connect with that person. And that's what I found really powerful about running those sessions. And it's something that I've always leaned into as I've developed my presentation and training skills. Just being yourself and having that good conversation just works wonders and coming from a place of authenticity. And it's something I always feed back on. I just really saw you in that presentation. You were giving it from you. Yes, the information was there, whatever the information is, whether it's corporate, but you delivered it in your way through yourself, and no need to be anyone but yourself is so massive in that. And there is no need to sparkle. There's no need to hurry. And like you said, Lee, they do sparkle because they're being themselves when they deliver those pieces. And it's lovely, and I keep encouraging it, but you do get some people that just go back to that. It's a little, because they're uncomfortable. I get it. And it's almost like a safety mechanism. If I stick to this script and I stick to this, it's going to be happy. But it takes time to practice. And that's why I say to people, but bring more of yourself in, because we all connect to it. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. Actually, that's even better, because sometimes it's just a bit more human. Right, it's got to be word perfect. And that's what I love. Anyway, Lee, over to you.
No, that's good stuff. I really like that. And I think that's the two bits for me. One is the importance of being yourself, and then it's how you deliver that. And a bit like we said on making sure you're considerate to everyone else, and you're not, you're doing it in the right way, but also that you're comfortable and you're relaxed and you've got nothing to prove.
Yeah. And I think it's what's important as well.
It's a really good message.
Well, I think the other important thing is that not trying to be someone you're not to try and fit in with the audience that you're trying to, whoever you're with in the meeting.
Yes.
Because that can happen. And then people go, well, what is this person? They don't really see you. And then it comes across all inauthentic, and you just don't present it the right way because you are trying to be someone you're not. And it's it's difficult for you because it takes a ton of energy. And two, people know. Oh, they may 100%. Not tell you. They may not even tell you, but they just know. They might say, how did they tell that day? It's like, it was a bit strange. There was something got off about that. And they'll just sense it. And it's really strange. So it's just really important. And it's not always easy, of course. But being yourself is one of the biggest things I think you can do. And just being yourself, I think, adds tons of credibility as well. And actually, it reminded me of Elon Musk. Whether you love him or hate him about his political views, but when he got asked about AI, and I truly believe himself, he said, I don't know if I've done this quite before, I think, from him, he just said, they said, what if AI goes rogue or something like that? Or what if AI actually, turns bad? What would you do? And he goes, I don't know. I don't know. And this is like a really super intelligent being. He was just himself, and it was like a really high-powered interview. I don't know. It was brilliant. I thought, well, if he can say, I don't know, then we can all say, I actually don't know. And it's something I encourage presenters to do. Yeah. Like, it's a great question. Let me take it away, because it is great. And not trying to fluff it over, not trying to, what do they call it? What's the other thing they try and say? Fluff it over. No, it's not fluff it over. What is it? But yes, your way through it. I've never
heard fluff it over, so I don't know where you're going next.
I don't know. Anyway, there you go. There you go, Lee. Yeah, that's where I'm leaving it from me.
It's good. I like that. So give me a takeaway before we do some wrapping up for everyone out there in podcast land.
Just be yourself. That's my takeaway. Don't try and dress it up. Yes, there might be certain situations where you want to, you're certain way, but always be yourself through that lens. Don't be anyone you're not.
And I'm gonna piggyback on yours, because I think that is the overarching message of this, and it's such a strength when you can get hold of it. It really is.
And it is actually, you just feel more engaged with all the processes that you're involved with as well, I think.
Absolutely.
You just feel more in with it, don't you? Because you're not trying to be someone you're not. You just are, and you're also thinking from a perspective which is genuinely you, which is much easier than trying to be someone you're not. So no need to sparkle, no need to hurry, no need to be anyone but your oneself. I'm just going to leave it at
that. If you enjoy what we're doing here, as we are being ourselves, head over to inspirationnation.org.uk. There's a merch store there. You can get, like Joe has behind him in the background, you can get Inspiration Nation t-shirts, hoodies, all that good sort of stuff. I think there's phone cases. I'm going to get one for myself one day. I definitely do that. There's everything. Everything you can slap a logo on. It is on there. 5 years worth of content there as well. Audio all the way back, video on and off. We've gone through different flavors of it, but there's loads of great stuff there. If you like what we're doing, tell friends, tell family, like, subscribe, follow, whatever you can do wherever you're listening. All that stuff helps us on the algorithms. And we will be back next week. There might be 2 of us, there might be 3 of us. Who knows? You look like you need to say something before I wrap us up, Jose.
I am. Yeah, I do want to say something. I want to leave a question for the audience. Well, the thing is, I think really we should have a question for the audience. We have our takeaways, and I think it'd be nice to end the podcast with a question for the audience to take away and think about it for next week. And that means you can send a message or whatever. Send me a message, go on the media. But how will you, on the media. Yeah, not Bebo or MySpace like you said last week. Was it last week or was it at the beginning of this
I say it
conversation? I
quite
can't
often.
remember.
That's one of my favourites.
It is. I love it. Yeah, MySpace. Okay, how are you going to be oneself? That's what I'm going to ask you guys out there. How are you going to be more yourself in all the meetings, anywhere you go up to? Let us know, and how you can bed this in. And let us know how you get on with it. How do you feel or think when you've done it? Do you find it's better, worse? Let us know. We're up for discussion on that. But yeah, that's my question to the audience.
Great stuff. We will be back next week, as I said, and I'll count us down. 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation.
Catch
you guys later.
Catch you guys later. I even did that at the end. Lee, you did that.
Good stuff. I liked it.
I copied you.
I do, don't I? I kind of go,